Hello, thank you for coming today. I think the hardest part about a parent sharing their story is to not cry. So, and that's the most nerve-wracking thing. So, let me breathe. From the beginning, when I was pregnant with Sylvia, I was excited. I am a mother of 3, so I have an almost 11-year-old beautiful blonde girl, a 9-year-old boy who is super talented in building with Legos and drawing anything he sees. It's amazing. He just drew Scooby-Doo recently, and it was like, whoa. So I always believed that God put it on my heart that we were going to have number 3, and I knew it was going to be a girl. I just knew, and chose her name Sylvia Sue because I heard, I don't know, just driving home late from work one night, I heard somebody call in on the radio and they said their name was Sylvia, and I was like, I don't hear that very often. I just love that name. And then Sue is after her grandmother, my maternal grandmother, so in honor of that. So super excited about being pregnant with kid number 3, and we ended up going to Florida while I was 4 months pregnant, and I was so worried about the waves hitting my belly, but still got in the ocean and it was like, oh, she's here with us. She doesn't know it, but we're in Florida at the beach. And then I go in for it was about 5.5 month anatomy scan, and the ultrasound tech was like, going through everything, and my first reaction was, oh, her profile pic just looks just like my oldest Evelyn. I was like, oh my gosh, they're gonna be twins, and they practically are in the profile image. So they look a lot alike, even though they're 6 years apart. And we were waiting on, hands to show up. But she's like, oh, here's a foot, got all the toes, and the heart looks good, and everything like that. And she's like, I'm having a hard time finding the hands, and go through everything else, and do you want to know what it is? And I was like, yeah, and it's a girl. I'm like, yay. And then they're like, that's it. So I go back to see the doctor, and she tells us, we can't find your daughter's hands. And I'm like, what? Okay. Emotional, don't know what to think, lots to process. I'm like, oh, maybe they're in there somewhere, okay? They're in there somewhere, I'm sure. So through the rest of my pregnancy, I went to see a specialist, and later in my pregnancy, and he did an ultrasound, and the tech there still had trouble finding arms or hands. And then the actual doctor came in, and he really got a good view of her clavicle. And then you could just tell, you can see the clavicle, and then it was just nothing. And that's when it hit me that it wasn't going to happen. So I cried, and they were like, we can take you out the back door, to have some privacy. And I was like, no, I just want to get out of here. But processing it all, I prayed, and I still had hope that they were wrong. And then I had emergency C-section on November 1st of 2018. And because I had lost all of my water and she was breech, she came out perfectly fine, screaming her head off, okay? And I didn't get to see her because they said her breathing was off, and they wanted to get her to the NICU and get her breathing going. It actually wasn't that bad. They were kind of being over precautious, so I didn't get to see her, and they wrapped her up, and I got to see her face and touch her, and then they shipped her off to NICU, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm still trying to process this. I need to see where her arms are, if they're there or not, okay? So it was an hour because they still had to take care of me, and they got her breathing under control. And I finally got to see her, and she calmed down when she got with Mom. So basically, she knew she was separated from Mom, and she needed Mom, and that's all they really needed to do, but they didn't, which is fine. We got together an hour later, and we're perfectly fine. And I anteed up and unwrapped her and saw the most beautiful thing ever. And, you can't love more than anything of your own child. So I accepted her in that moment. I mean, I didn't question God. I didn't question whether at the time I was working in manufacturing that I maybe became exposed to something that caused the congenital deformities of her. I just accepted her, and I didn't get time to tell her siblings that she was coming out this way, different. So when they came to the hospital, when it was just us in the room, I got to say, "Hey, here's your sister, but I have to tell you something." And they took it very well. So at 4 and 6, it was just fine. The other thing with Sylvia is you notice that she has a big shoe. And they were worried that her right foot was a club foot because it was actually kind of smashed up against her leg. But her other leg was fine. It was really cute because in the ultrasound picture, she would raise her left leg up and wave at us like it was a hand, which that's what she does today with her left leg, or the side anyways. But her foot was not clubbed. And what we found out later, after seeing a specialist in Oklahoma City, we then went to Shriners in St. Louis and got some better x-ray images that her femurs are abnormally short. The right one is 5 inches shorter than the left. Her hips are not fully developed. Her hips do not have sockets for her femurs to go in, so she has what they call hip dysplasia also. Despite knowing that her right femur is so short that her hip pretty much connects to her knee, she can still move it as much as she can. She has full flexibility of her ankles and her feet, and we usually call that her helper foot. And her left foot and leg does everything. And because she has hip dysplasia, her left leg can go way up here to brush her hair or wipe her face or feed herself. So it's truly amazing what she can do. So we were told about Little Lighthouse. And I was like, okay, cool, yeah, let's get signed up for that because we don't know what's going to happen later on down the road, and that sounds like a good option for us. I had heard about Little Lighthouse previous to my daughter being born. When I was in high school, I had a boyfriend, and his youngest brother had autism, and he came to Little Lighthouse, so I had heard about it from them, and he was thriving here. 15 or 20 years ago when he was here. So I was like, yeah, I get a good vibe about them. So we got on the wait list. Unfortunately, having 2 older kids, we couldn't do the EI classes. So we didn't get to come in until she turned 3. But I did get the call when she turned 3. And at the time, I was already looking into preschools in Owasso, because that's where we're at. And luckily, 2 preschools in Owasso were like, yeah, we can accommodate for her. Come on in, and we'll do a tour, stuff like that. But they don't have the staff that's trained to deal with a child with special needs. They really don't. And she wasn't walking at that time either. She wasn't feeding herself at that time either. And I was like, well, I'm a stay-at-home mom to tend to her. You want me to just stay and I'll be like her para? And then we were going to go to the preschool at my own church. And they're like, yes, you can stay. We'll get you, certified through in. But in all honesty, that doesn't give mom a break. And that doesn't give kid time to process it's okay to be without mom. And she, every child needs that. Every mom needs that. So then Molly calls me and she's like, hey, we want you to come to the Little Lighthouse. And I was like, well, I'm already enrolled in King's Kids in Owasso. I was like, I think we're good. We're good. I got this figured out, okay? And she's like, well, and she's talking to me, and I'm in the middle of Sam's shopping, okay, on the phone, Molly. And she's like, she was really insistent, and I'm so happy that she was. She did it in a graceful way, but she was insistent. She's like, come in just to tour, and we can, kind of interview you, and you can interview us. And I was like, just stopped in the middle of the store and just had that feeling, God putting his hand on me saying, you need to go. So I was like, okay, we'll come. Let me put you in the schedule. I'll come on this day. But we'll have to come after hours because I want Dad to come because don't make decisions without Dad. So we had to come when he came off work. And after we walked down the hall, and I can't remember who gave us the tour, but she started explaining, just like your tour that you had today, everything. And we got to go in a classroom, and Sylvia got to play in the classroom, and her siblings were with us too, so they got to see what was going on. And just the more that they fed us and the more seeing her here, I was like blown away, because Sylvia is cognitively advanced, but she's kind of in between because she needs help, but then again, she doesn't need help. So I was torn. We could go to public, but coming here was so much more beneficial. And I was like, okay, if you got a spot for us, we're coming. So we did, and it has truly been a blessing ever since. Sylvia, like I said, wasn't fully walking when she started here last year. She wasn't fully eating independently. And but she was age appropriate for everything else. And she started walking last year. As you can see at Mini Lap, she's walking. She has a gated belt to help her because we wanted to make sure she wouldn't fall because she was still kind of new at walking. But what got her walking was seeing other kids here, and because she has that short femur, she can't do this with that leg. But she saw another kid swing her hips to walk, and because she saw somebody else with a similar disability, it just clicked, and she's like, watch this, and took off. And then just, being around peers her age, watching them feed themselves, she was encouraged to say, oh, I should be doing that too. So it's just been so nice. And this year, we're excited to be in Orange class, getting her kindergarten ready. I plan on starting her kindergarten at age appropriate. But we will, after this year, miss Little Lighthouse so much. I'm kind of torn because I could keep her, but also send her on her way. So, but I just, God has those plans that we never know about. And you always look back later and go, aha, so you just, if you trust in him, he will guide your way and the doors will open. And it's just so amazing that he has our back in everything that we do. So this facility and living up to basically those first few words in their mission to glorify God truly rings in this building with all the people, and everybody's touched by it. So thank you, you guys, for all that you do.